Welcome to the Nerdtastic in 3D podcast.
It's Nerdtastic in 3D. Oh, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. Yes, it's Nerdtastic in 3D. It's Nerdtastic in 3D.
Let's change it to Nadtastic.
Bong.
Nadtastic?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nerdtastic in 3D, episode number 62.
Live. Ses. Dos.
If you are joining us live, you're the one person that I'm pretty sure is just me streaming. Welcome.
Welcome.
Or watching me live on Twitch TV. Only me because I'm a green fucker, and none of you guys get a video camera this
How
time.
many viewers you got?
It's me.
Yes.
I'm my own viewer.
We're so
Yes.
popular.
So,
Pronounced nuclear, stupid.
so my name's Jason Carter.
I'm Jack Eckler.
I'm Josh the Brat.
Jason Pecco.
I'm Sean Fennell, and I'm not really here.
I'm Sean Kearney, and Chris of Criss Cross is no longer here.
Let's pour a little bit of our drinks out for Chris.
Pour a little,
Exactly.
little bit of your drink out in your mouth.
You know, I never really understood
There
why
you go.
the pour some out for your dead homies. I never understood what it is, but it's like if you're standing over their grave, you pour it out and it goes down to them.
Yeah. And they drink it as a zombie.
I didn't know that.
Or you pour some in a sewer if you buried them in a sewer.
Is
What happens if you cremate
life
them,
in
dude?
Chicago sounds hard.
Not a big thing, you know.
It's
Hey,
all right.
The streets are rough there.
So-
Sandwiches and everything.
Can I
It's fine.
Can I tell you guys about something? I'm excited about something for two reasons. First, about the thing I'm about to announce. But second, because I have managed to keep this from all of you for quite some time.
I won't even say it.
Oh my god.
Jason Collins came out of the closet.
Oh, shit. Look at you.
That's awesome.
It's in a box.
Coming to Kickstarter next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, is a passion project of mine that I've been working on with a buddy here from work.
He's been on the show.
He has.
Peter Vaughn. Yeah.
Peter Vaughn, that's right.
PV?
So this is a fun card game that
Let me see the box.
is
looks awesome.
designed for the whole family.
Yeah.
We've got some instructions. This is the temp version I'm passing around to you guys. Comes with some humiliation points. Here's the cards, the whole 9 yards. So you gotta
All right.
check that out.
Crazy.
And yeah, so what this is basically a card game that you guys have all played here in the show, but haven't been able to announce it yet. But I'm very excited to say next Thursday we are launching. This will be May 8th. We're launching the Kickstarter campaign to get this thing off the ground. It's a card game that we've been building for about 6-ish months now, and is complete. And it's a lot of fun to play. It's basically for ages 8 and up. The tagline of the game is, "It's a food fight to the death." Well, at least to the social death, which, you know, sometimes is the same thing. But it's a food fight of epic, humiliating proportions. So the goal of this game is you have a whole bunch of cards. You pick a player. You have some actions. And you pick up a food. And you can combine that food with a topping or a special condition. And so you can throw a soggy, beefy wiener covered in boysenberry jam at an opponent. And
Jack knows all about that.
Yeah.
Wiener.
and
Soggy.
and the first person the person who's the uber humiliated or is the loser, and the person who is the least humiliated is the winner.
This manual looks really great. I noticed the special thanks section in here. A lot of people's names in here. Few missing though.
Yeah, who's
Yeah.
missing?
One or two testers?
Well, a couple testers. A couple people who may have helped test the game.
Is your name not in there?
I'm not seeing any Jason Pecco.
No?
Or
Is there a Sean Kearney?
there's no Sean Kearney.
I do not like this game.
Hold on, that's 1
Vincent
second.
Are we in there?
Liz is in there.
Are we in there?
Are we
Jack
in there?
Eckler.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
Liz made it. You two did.
Liz is in there
Okay.
and we're not.
This
Okay,
is
they
I
needed
want you to
female
know
presence.
what
They
you're
needed
seeing.
female presence.
What you're
Hurts a
seeing
little.
is the prototype copy,
Yeah.
not the final thing.
Well,
by
I
any
found a
means.
couple bugs in this prototype.
That's good.
Mainly two.
That's
Mainly
good.
two.
It's just a
You
formatting
really-
problem. It's off to the left. Your name is there, but it's off to the left.
cut off.
Kinko's cut it off.
You
It's not our fault.
You really don't do work, do you? You do everything but work, don't you?
Yeah.
Where do you find the time to
Yeah.
develop?
No,
a game?
so I have to say, it's been an absolute privilege for me to be a part of this, but this game is definitely the brainchild of Peter. It's been his passion project, and I've been super fortunate to be able to kind of design a little bit with him, but it's definitely, he's the game designer, he's the champion behind this thing, and so I'm just very, very pleased to be a part of it and super stoked to be, getting this thing off the ground. So we'll let you know how it goes. This is interesting for a couple of different reasons. One, this is the first game that I've ever, been a part of to bring to market myself. Routine for you guys, I know.
Yes, we
What's
can't
going
hear
on
that.
there? Is that coming through mine?
Sorry,
And then
That's not mine. That's Josh.
that's me.
also,
Are you watching the stream?
No, I was checking us on. Sorry, go ahead.
Also,
That's my fault.
we've talked several times, excuse me, on the show about Kickstarter, and we've been curious about a lot of different things about it, and this is going to be some interesting first-person perspective into the world of Kickstarter and how it all works and everything. So once we have a link to share, we'll be sending that out. I can say it's Nerdtastic and 3D approved. I don't know if all you approve, but at least part of Nerdtastic.
Once my
approves.
name gets on that list, I'll
Yeah,
approve it.
I completely
Damn it.
disapprove of that part.
Dude, this is actually awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah,
stoked.
this is
I'm really
super
stoked.
cool.
Not only because my name's in the book, which is awesome, which seriously is awesome on its own level, but
It's going on my resume, by the way.
you're part of
QA.
actually
You're
something on
QA.
Kickstarter.
Can you tell us a little bit about what kind of preparation you guys are doing or have done, or there's so many of these Kickstarter campaigns, and
Yeah.
what do you have to do to get ready for it?
What's your business model?
Did you shave?
Well, so, the biggest thing about Kickstarter is to make sure that you have something, obviously an enticing product. We'll skip over that. That you've got something that's going to grab people's attention with the video. Kickstarter videos are a lot of time and effort and money actually gets put into those things. We've spent $0 and we have done it
Did
lickety split.
you do an intro video?
We've got a video that'll be up, and I'll be happy to share that with you guys.
Is it 1080p HDMI?
Yeah.
Actually, it's
Cable.
It was in standard def last
it's
time.
480i, and
Interlace.
I love that interlace.
but
Could we get it to put up on the YouTube page?
yeah, definitely.
Do you mention mine or Jason Pecco's name? Because that would be a nice thing to do.
We've
Absolutely.
actually when the final recordings, because we know you two don't listen to, we actually axe your names out when it comes around the room. Josh
do you edit, do you edit
Sean
our
Fenner.
voices out as well?
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I just put a modulation filter over it, so
Yeah.
it just sounds like kind of a generic
so it
computer.
sounds like Liz.
Every time.
And you're Vincent.
This errors will be corrected. But so it's fun. So I've been knowing that this has been coming up for a little while now, and we've play tested a couple times, and I appreciate the input. And it is totally just a fun project to have been involved in, and we'll see how it goes.
Good luck.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I'll back your ass.
Appreciate it. Oh yeah. Oh, so that was the
That's not really what you meant to say, is it?
So that's the other
do
thing
that.
I was going to mention is so much of coming up with the Kickstarter campaign is coming up with the different levels that you want, because you want to have something that's enticing. And the idea of Kickstarter is, at least in our opinion, is you want to give people something that they're not normally going to get. So let's say that this game is going to be out there and available for $20 on the market. It's not going to be that much, but $20 if it ever hit a retail store. Well, the goal then would be I want to offer it to you guys on Kickstarter for $15. There should be some incentive for you to get in early and back the project. And so the whole thing is like coming up with different price points and what you're getting, and then making sure. And there's two things to this. The what's on the face of what you see is, hey, that you as a backer feel like, yeah, this is worth this much money. I'm getting some cool stuff, and it's worth that much money. Behind the scenes, though, is an interesting thing, because you have to tally everything. So you have to say, all right, if this level includes, whatever, a T-shirt and a trip to, Florida, then you have to calculate, all right, a trip to Florida cost me how much? How many people am I going to be able to limit that to? 10 people. All right, that's 10 trips to Florida I got to finance in. And you got to include all that in the cost of your Kickstarter. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So you may end up only saying, oh, I only need, whatever $5,000 to get something kicked off the ground, but when you tally up all the things associated with all your thing, you're like, oh crap, I need $10,000 just to finance all the stuff I told you I was going to deliver. So it's kind of like this interesting thing. Like, yeah, you're going to get some cool stuff, but I could have gotten.
At what point does it cost more than the game? You know what I mean to you guys?
Right. Yeah. It's an interesting.
Are you guys gonna Is the product done? Or are you guys gonna try to take some money and like pay for some official testing, or like is?
Hello, they did, but obviously you two missed it.
Yeah, I wasn't invited to that one.
I feel like there's like 2 more people could have play tested that game, and it would have really been the best that it could have been.
Thing ever.
Yeah.
No, so the game is basically done. There are some. I'll go into a little bit more detail. I think next week.
Okay,
but
that's still
which
will
be
the Thursday though,
which will be the day before. But there's some cool incentives. So the game is designed, but there are a couple of cool levels for. I'll just say for you to actually influence. Heavily influence the game. So.
And you guys need the money to actually manufacture the game too, right? There's
Correct.
a whole
so the
piece of that.
I think different Kickstarter campaigns have different elements to them. Some people will say, hey, I just want to get this thing going. I've got this idea. And then part of what you're paying for is the time involved for them to develop the idea. That's not the case here for us. The game's done. I mean, you guys have held it in your hands. It's going to be slightly different quality cards, hopefully a little bit better than the prototype you're seeing here.
And the manual will probably have like 2 or more names.
Probably. I mean, I don't want to guarantee anything, but probably.
2 or more additional names.
But
that's a rewrite.
That's really
like I said, it's on there. It's just Kinko's cut it off. So our game is done. So really, all we're looking for is the cost of actually getting the manufacturing itself. So this will be one of the instances where if you were to back this campaign, it's just get it printed, and then get them in the mail to you guys. It's I don't know how much time is involved in that, but if there's no time, like, hey, we want to make a movie first and then get you a copy, like the product is made. Yeah. It just needs to be manufactured.
What's your biggest incentive?
Yeah. It's obviously
one-on-one date with you.
Is it name in the manual? Because apparently that one's really hard.
Hey, I'd pay for that.
I'll just say this. You will have the opportunity, you being somebody who backs big time, will have the opportunity to actually create a character for the game.
Are you listening, Notch?
Yes. Yes, I am.
It's lost on a lot of people.
Apparently, Notch backs Kickstarters in a big way for
really?
games that he really enjoys.
He backs a lot of stuff. That dude's just rich. And just
well, that's the thing. When you just have money, that's some shit like, well, here's $100. That's cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
Next.
What's meaningful?
I will say this. You guys know this, but separate from the Kickstarter, this game's been interesting because I have a decent computer background and have dabbled in some, like you guys, some game design and some any game stuff I've done has always been through computer or video game type of thing. So to do something that's a little bit more of a tangible game has been interesting. A lot of the same principles apply to game design all across the board, but it's you just think of things in a slightly different way.
So the app version of this thing is no more?
Not ready to be mentioned yet. Thank you.
Okay.
Edit that out, please.
No, this we've another thing going on with Kickstarter campaigns is a lot of times what people do is they say, "Oh, I need this much money to get the product off the ground." But a lot of times what's happening is people are getting way more than they need. And so they're coming up with these things called stretch goals. So what they're saying is like, all right, I want X amount of dollars, let's say $5,000, and then I end up getting 10. Well, you need to – there's no obligation, but there's let's say an unspoken acknowledgement that you will provide to your backers what you're going to do with that extra $5,000. So a great example is the Double Fine, the big Double Fine campaign that was super successful. They went way over what they needed, right? And then they basically said, wow, overwhelmed with the generosity. Okay, so we originally planning on this thing being for X platforms. Now we're going to throw in that with this extra money. We'll use that to support this platform and this platform. And okay, we'll throw in these extra things. So it's kind of like if for us, we're kickstarting a card game, and that's exactly what we're doing. We definitely have, there's some bigger things where we could take it. There's been talk about, an app version, something that you can, play socially with a lot of friends.
Now, the thing that's kind of curious to me is you have something where, say you go over, it's $10 to make, $10 and you get the game. and your goal to get this off the ground, say, is $5,000, and you get $10,000, so you're $5,000 over. But literally, it's $10,000 of everyone buying the game for $10.
Yeah.
So you're like you're not really making that much money, right? You are just
So that completely goes into. So there's this whole business side of like thinking in terms of Kickstarter. So we have put together this idea of we want to make X number of copies of our game, and we're going to charge this dollar amount for it. And again, all the details will come out next week. But this dollar amount is the entry level thing for it, and we're gonna if we get 500 people to pay this amount, we've paid for the manufacturing run of 2,500 copies of the game. So the idea is that you build in enough into the price that it's not too expensive, but it's anything that's ordered or manufactured in bulk, the price comes down dramatically per unit cost, right? So same principle. So our goal is to say, okay, we don't want to make the exact number of people that are going to do it. We want to go overboard. So we're saying we talk to all kinds of manufacturers, honestly, all over the world, which is an incredibly interesting experience. And you get quotes from everybody, and you say, all right, this is kind of what we think we can afford, and we can get this number of people to buy in at this price point, then we'll have X number of copies left over. And this is not anywhere where we're thinking, but to take that argument further, what a lot of people think is, well, what if I have all these extra copies, and I can then say I get 2,500, 500 are already spoken for through Kickstarter. Let's say I sell another 500, that can do another run of 2,500, and now all of a sudden you have a business that's sustaining itself. So that every time you get 500 people, you can print another 2,500 copies of your game.
You might say that it kickstarted your business.
I like that. I like that.
Some say.
So as far as Kickstarter goes, like, it just kind of blew up over the last probably year.
Yeah.
How many of you guys have backed a Kickstarter?
I have.
we all have.
I've backed
done
quite a
one.
few.
One.
I've actually backed
So-
a lot.
But like somebody's
but Carter.
project, it was a project. It wasn't even like something tangible. It was like somebody doing a film I knew, and I'm like, I'll give you some bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that I've backed
I want something
a lot.
tangible, though.
Well, I've never used any of the things that I've gotten from backing Kickstarters. Like I just today have a T-shirt. I backed a YouTube series that like a friend of a friend was doing, and I got a bunch of stuff. I got a Blu-ray of the series, which I've never watched, that's still in its wrapping. I got a T-shirt that I just recently was like, that goes in the Goodwill pile. And I have like for everything I've done, I've backed. I've never the closest I've gotten is I've gotten some artwork that's like sitting in a corner to be framed eventually. But I would say that I've never done it with the expectation of using the thing. Like, I've never been like, ooh, I'm going to kickstart this so that I can use this, like the Ouya or something.
There were cool things.
Yeah.
I mean, like Philips Hue, when they had like a Kickstarter style thing for the light bulb, like that had all these options to be able to Bluetooth before that got popular. Now they're huge. That to me was something I'm like, fuck, I want that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't just want to Kickstarter. I'm like, how do I buy it?
And that's the thing. I've yet to do it for something that I want. I think the closest was the Ouya. I almost kickstarted one just because I was like, oh, that'll be cool. And now I'm going to buy one, and I almost regret not kickstarting it to be able to just say, hey, I was part of that.
I think the thing, too, with a lot of the Kickstarters right now are that a lot of the bigger projects that you back are still in development. And
That's
so, like,
true.
come probably next year, you're going to start seeing the first big round of Kickstarters start to deliver. And then more people will probably see, like, oh, people are actually, like, making products and delivering them and funding more. But I've been finding lately that I follow a couple of my friends on Kickstarter, which I don't know if you know, they have, like, a feature where you can follow people on Kickstarter. And every time they back a project, I get an alert. And then I go look at that project. And I've almost
pretty nice.
become, like, addicted to looking at Kickstarter projects and then potentially backing them.
It's become, there's bits of social networking, social media in there, in that regard. Like you can find exactly what your friends are doing, get notifications on it. It's pretty interesting. I just wanted to read this one thing real quick. So nobody is sure what started the incident. It might have been a mushy grapefruit or a few frozen fish sticks. Or perhaps it was just the kids of Washington Taft and Fillmore high schools forced to eat together in the same cafeteria following school budget cuts. The objective to What the Food is pick up and throw funny food combos at opponents and avoid humiliation points. When any player reaches 10 points, someone has alerted the principal and the fight is over. The winner is the person with the lowest humiliation score. That's the gist. So again, we can move on from it.
What the Food?
What the Food? Kickstarting next
What
week.
the Food?
What's the food?
Kickstart me up.
Kickstart my heart.
Kickstarter.
So let's talk
music.
let's talk about somebody who didn't need a Kickstarter. Let's talk about an article I posted that I go to I have a couple sites that I go to that blogs I follow for just ridiculously retardedly expensive things, like for just the stupid rich, just because I'm fascinated with what people can do with money. This dude
Pisses me off.
This dude now holds currently, I think, the record for the most expensive vacation planned. This is a $1.5 million excursion, all-inclusive excursion, that covers a 2-year period. So it's going to take him 2 years, and it covers him going around the globe to 962 locations.
Sounds like work.
2 years. And you can't,
miss one.
962. So you figure... What is it? 3, 7.
You could
was
pay
it
me
7,
like half that,
7,
and
10,
I'll go do it and
720,
tell 'em about
or
it
actually the
afterwards.
days. If one location was a day, so you're at 720. So you still haven't seen everything in a day. So that means in a day you have to see 2 to 3 of these things in a day to get your full 962.
And your travel would have to include like seeing things, like I'm traveling to
absolutely.
this country and I'm gonna stop
All I
on
think,
the way.
I think of National Lampoon's European Vacation. Look, kids, Big Ben. Literally, those are the kind of experiences.
Big
I
Ben
think.
Parliament.
So what happens if a year into your trip, like the money, the economic state changes to a point where like you're going somewhere where it's going to cost like 4 times as much for your vacation
Don't
there?
visit
All of a
China.
sudden
I'm
your
pretty sure
budget's
the
blown.
$1.5 million guy is good to go at that point.
When it turns into $9 million, you're like, what the fuck?
No,
Whatever.
it could be that.
I'm
What
rich.
if like the it says $1.5 million. What if inflation hits so bad that it's like the yen, or 1.5 million yen is like enough for a taco?
But then he goes to some place like, say, India, or he goes to another location where everything's
like-
down, and he's like, it equals out. It's all coming back around. It cost me a penny
He's
to
planned
eat
the trip,
day.
Checks and
taking into
balances.
account inflation.
Inflation, yes. The global
That's
climate,
the point.
wars.
That's the 0.5 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just fascinated. If you guys, here's the deal. If you had time like that, like, would you do something like that? Would you take 2 years out of your life to see and possibly hit every single thing on the planet? Or would you just say, hey, look, I have the money, obviously. I'm going to take the next 20 years and
that's
do this.
what I'd
Or
do.
would you just say, fuck it, I'm going to do, I don't know. Just the fact
sounds
you're doing
fun.
2 years is kind of
Well,
insane.
there's the
I'd
experience.
do it
You're never
until-
gonna do. You're never gonna do it. There's no way he's
But
gonna do
you
it
would
in 2
have
years.
the craziest story.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
ever. You being rich doesn't matter anymore because that fucking story
Just plan
trumps
it over
it.
4 years. All right. Just plan it over.
I'd do it until it got boring, and then I'd find something else to do.
Yeah, that's
You'd
true.
have to
go
go.
to
With, you'd
space.
have to go with your boys. You'd have to go with somebody fun because going by yourself
entourage,
would be
yeah.
boring as fuck.
But
I can tell you that right now. It would be boring as
It
fuck.
would be. You walk up
You'd
and
make
go
it 30 days
"Eh."
and be like,
I'm out.
where are my
30
boys?
days, 5 days. I'm like, this is all right, I guess.
But you get a different experience. So, Jeffrey,
Sure, you don't have to
Katzenberg,
like
he will
agree
sit
on
there-
where to eat.
yeah, he will. He will sit there and post that we went to blah 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 for this business thing, and we got shown this museum, and we got taken, and we saw this one thing that was 450 million years old, and it was this private VIP tour.
And then we
if
went
you
to
get
your
there,
ma's house.
if you get there, you should totally see it. But the thing is, nobody will ever see it like him because of who he is.
Yeah.
So if you have that much money to be able to go around and do these excursions and adventures and stuff like that, it's probably something that you and I, if we were to go to the same place and go, we want to see these ruins. Okay, we'll go see the ruins. Well, this guy's got enough money where he gets this private show of the ruins. It gets taken into here on this lavish, cart, whatever, carried in by fucking
Golden donkey.
man or woman
Slaves.
servants, whatever your preference is. And and so I'm sure he's just like, it's I would do it if it's something like that, but if it's me just fucking going around on coach.
If I have to pick up a fucking suitcase, it's over.
Okay. One
Exactly.
ain't picking up shit. Let's get that out. Sean, thank you for pointing that out.
I'm not
picking
even
up
reaching
shit.
for my own money. Like that.
Seriously, I'm not even taking my own pictures. I've hired a professional photographer to follow me around.
I like how this guy is going around the world and we're like drawing lines on shit we wouldn't
Hey,
do.
motherfucker.
I would
Hey,
stay
motherfucker.
home.
Hey, motherfucker.
and
We're
sit on my couch.
Sean, Kearney's like this. I do it with my Oculus Rift through somebody else's eyes.
Does
You can syndicate it and make
There's nothing
even
wrong with
more.
that.
does his worldwide tour include a trip into space?
Isn't that what Idiots Abroad is?
But you're outside
Yeah,
the world at
pretty
that
much.
point.
A TV show?
Yeah.
It's a midget
This
and a
world.
funny guy who's not really very funny.
If he's that rich.
Wandering around doing
Jason,
stupid
do you do it?
shit.
Jay, do you do the 2 years and just bang it out? Or do you say, hey, I can do this over the course of a lifetime. I don't need to go to these places.
I definitely take the $1.5 million.
Well, that's not a gift given. You just have that.
I put it in the bank.
and go nowhere.
And then I go visit Yellowstone, and I call it a day.
Woohoo.
And then you got some money in the bank.
You're the
Office-
killer of articles.
This is Office Space.
Hey, no,
Invested in short-term mutual funds, and like that's where you are right
in
now.
all seriousness, though, I'd probably do a couple of months, and then I'm definitely a creature of habit, a homebody, like, and I would definitely have to travel with somebody who knows, like, local custom stuff.
So
Like,
let me
I
ask
think
you:
every location you probably get somebody.
if you were rich enough to bring your house with you where you went, would you do that?
possibly. Hey,
Sometimes
I want
you
the
just-
experience of
Would
other
you-
places in my home.
Would you
sometimes
buy
just
a
want to sleep
Zeppelin?
in your. Sometimes you just want to rub one out in your bed. That's all I'm saying.
Or
Hotel.
rub it
do
out in a
Zeppelin.
hotel bed
Yeah.
or a mat or whatever the hell they give me. I'm coming back going, hey, dude, I rubbed it out in
It's
everything
all-
you could think of.
It's all about the smells.
If you live in a Zeppelin, you can take that shit anywhere.
It's
I
true.
love how Sean took it back to rubbing it out. You're right. I would rub it out everywhere. I slept in a tree in Brazil, rubbed it out.
so one thing I did forget to mention is that because we are live streaming, you can tweet at us and interact with us.
One person
Hit us up.
listening.
Or if you're actually on the
Two people
MixLR
listening.
website, like two of our friends, Karina Killer, Gary, my boy up in San Francisco, dude. Thanks for listening, brother. And Spencer, I always forget Spencer's last name.
Seabold?
Seabold. And then one of your boys, Sean.
What's up,
Hi.
Spence?
Hi.
How
are you?
Thanks
Hey,
for listening. Well,
Shout out to
welcome.
people listening. You can interact with us. You can chat on Mixler.com, or you can hit us up on on Twitter. Tweet at us and let us know what you want us to talk about, and we'll do this thing live. It'll be an interactive show.
Oh, that's out of
You
control.
want
Right?
to travel the world and beat
Look,
off wherever you're
For
at,
the
you
next
can do it.
for the next 20 minutes, Jack will answer any question, any single question you could possibly ask him.
Oh, man, there's some bad shit you could ask me.
It's coming.
Really, I know.
It's
Thank you,
coming.
Jason. Thanks.
Speaking of crazy vacations, as I briefly mentioned, Virgin Galactic launched their first test flight. How do you guys feel about that?
How far'd they go?
To the space.
To the space.
To the space.
The
They
great
launched
wide
it.
open.
The space station. It was the space.
To the space.
The black
Did
where you can
it
see the
literally-
stars.
That's
like outer.
That's the new great wide open.
I think
by
they
the way.
went out
Is the
of
space.
the
The space.
atmosphere.
all of it.
They did.
Yeah.
They didn't hit the ISS.
I don't know that they launched a missile at the ISS, but they did hit the atmosphere.
We actually, along that same vein, we got another person post on the podcast that asked, because the Mars project has officially opened application, he was wondering if any one of us are going to apply to go to Mars.
Adam
permanently. Adam McFarland.
Can we get a nomination?
Why don't we just
actually
sign
already-
him up?
He's
No, yeah.
actually already there, which is why he's not on the podcast now.
Because he's not here, we're going to sign him up.
Yeah.
That's exactly
Because
right.
imagine that, though, you're a Martian, and your first interaction with human beings as a species is Adam. Like, imagine what you think of the world.
pretty
you
sure
know.
we're all right.
We're going to be
It's like-
invaded.
He's a good ambassador.
I'm kind of curious. The first person who has a baby on Mars, and then that person is a Martian, but they're not an alien.
It's pretty.
What's going on?
I'm pretty sure Obama's a Muslim Martian who was born on Mars.
He's a Malian.
He's a Malian.
Did you guys happen to catch? Do you know what the Correspondence Dinner is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys happen to catch that this year at all?
All I
haven't
caught
watched
was
it yet.
Conan
Some clips.
O'Brien's one line that was so offensive that everybody was just like, oh. And then Conan was just like, he can take it. Is that the line you were talking about?
No. It's-
Oh, okay. I was just like, okay.
Well, so obviously these speeches at the Correspondence Dinner are written. I mean, handcrafted by some really clever people, and then just delivered by some good orators. But both Conan's speech and Obama's speech were really funny. But there's one line in Obama threw out there that I just thought was the funniest thing ever, which he's talking about. You'd think that by now I'd be better at certain elements of the presidency. Like the other day, I went out to the basketball court and I shot 20 baskets. I made two. Really? 2? And I got hit up by the CEO or whatever of NBC, and he's like, "Man, you have good record."
Because only two hits.
I'm sure I butchered
'cause
that. 2 hits,
NBC.
18 losses.
I'm still not getting it, but I'm sure there's something.
There was a good joke in there somewhere.
Because NBC
I don't know
has
about
lots of fails.
Did you guys see the Spielberg
I butchered
video?
it. El Spielbergo? Yes, I did see that.
The
I didn't
Obama
hear
the Obama movie? That was pretty funny.
Yeah, with Daniel Day-Lewis playing
Daniel.
Obama.
But it was actually Daniel Day-Lewis, wasn't it?
It was literally
It was him.
Oh, Daniel.
They did a really good job with the CG.
CG.
So Conan throws out a line, and the discussion is that right now there's a lot of talk that Obama's only hiring these very rich, very very old white men, and his cabinet's all white.
Yeah.
There's no diversity. And Conan gets up there and is like, "Obama, your hair is so white, a lot like your cabinet." And everybody just was like, "Oh," like the audience were really really flat, and he's just like, "He could take it." Hey, come on, let's move on.
President.
No, but back to the Virgin Galactic. Did it just break the atmosphere and then come back down?
No, it went into
Or
the
did
space.
it actually do any kind of orbiting
Jack,
function?
what part of what Jay said is confusing to you?
It occupied some kind of space.
Jay's going to the Twitter right now.
It hit the space. It said it notched an altitude of 55,000 feet before returning safely back to the desert.
Yeah, it's one of the other.
So that's not even as high as that dude jumped off of the Red Bull thing.
What's that, 10 miles?
Yeah, that was Felix Baumgartner. That was like 100,000 feet, wasn't it? That he jumped from. So
you're saying he jumped from the space?
he jumped from the space.
He definitely jumped from
Virgin
the
Galactic
space.
did not touch the space yet,
yeah.
so it's going to take a little bit more time, a little bit
You
more.
call yourself galactic and you haven't even touched the space?
It's unbelievable.
It's all about
You know
image.
what? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You got to
Can we
wear
cut-
the
if
suit.
If we get anything,
Can we cut this last 20 minutes of talk because I thought it was better than that.
Yeah.
You disappoint
didn't
me,
even
virgin.
read- This is what happens. How many times
I
have you
read-
said that in your life? You disappoint me, virgin.
So I actually have a question to ask the group, although Josh left. I saw this video
Twice.
last week, which was awesome. It was really cool. What do you think would happen in 0G if you filled a towel with water and then you wrung it out? What would happen to that water as you wrung it out?
It would slowly, fly up to your face.
I don't think it would
pool
fly
around your hands.
I don't know if it would fly up. I
Have you
think.
seen the video?
Oh, is there a
No.
video of it
Has
doing?
anyone seen this video before?
The link didn't
No.
show up in Evernote.
I would say it would stay at whatever level you're at
Yeah.
horizontally as you did it.
Yeah.
The water would just disappear.
No,
I would
because
guess
when
left to
you
right.
wring it, the act of wringing
Well,
it would
obviously,
push some of the water
if you
up,
wring
so
it really
slowly move
would
up.
it fast,
push
it will
up?
probably
push
spin
up.
off some
That's what I
stuff.
was
But
thinking.
Okay, there
if
you
you
go.
wring it slowly, it does
Slowly.
exactly. It just runs along your hands because of the surface tension. And what's really cool, because there's a video of this. If you guys, I posted it on Evernet. We can maybe post the link if we remember. But
I will
I'll post
I
it
will
right
po-
now.
I will
we
post it
won't.
to
Go
fa-
find it yourself. Just use Google.
Put it to Facebook.
But it's cool
Back
because
up.
the guy fills up. Just watching him try to fill up a towel with water in 0G is trippy in itself. But he fills it up with water, and then he wrings
Does
it
he
out.
dunk it into something?
No. He wrings it out. No, you can't. Nah. He wrings it out really slowly, and it just kind of stays where the towel is. And then it gets onto his hands, and it stays on his hands. And then he lets go of the towel, and he moves his hands up, and there's just this coating of water on his hands clinging to his skin, and he's kind of like moving his hands around. You can see the water kind of wobble on his hand. It's super trippy and really cool, and it really makes me want to go to space and just
Let's go to space.
play with stuff.
Is it called Wringing Out Water on the ISS?
That's the one.
I'm going to watch it right now, and then I'll post it on Facebook.
There you go.
But I'm not going to show you guys.
So they've been doing. People have been writing in experiments to run in the ISS station in 0G, and this was one of the.
Who is this
one of those
guy?
suggestions. This is a NASA scientist.
I know, but I don't know what it is, but this guy has been like
This guy.
super.
Who's this
His
guy?
name's Chris Hadfield.
He's been super visible. Like he plays guitar up there and puts up YouTube videos.
Because he's Canadian.
I was
Chris
gonna say
Redman about
that's
town.
what I said. I was like, isn't he a Metallica member?
James Hetfield?
Yeah, dude. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, come on. Is there some confusion?
It's also cool because he's working with the microphone. He just leaves the microphone there while he reaches for other shit.
Oh, yeah, that's
It's a lot of
pretty
fun.
neat.
Oh,
So-
0G looks so cool.
It's like so much fun.
Yeah, it does look kind of cool. So let's move this old boat along. And it's an article I sent out. And it's old, but a while back, I'm sure a lot of people, if you guys listen, there was a story that got posted. A lot of people heard about a guy named David Choe, and David Choe was a guy who got brought in to paint graffiti on the walls of Facebook and was paid in stock. And thus, with that paid stock, when the IPO hit, when did the IPO hit? 6 months ago?
It's about a year ago.
About a year
A
ago.
year now. Was estimated up front with the number of shares he had that even at the low end, he'd probably be worth anywhere from $200 million to $500 million just in stock. So he goes on and decides, when this happens, he decides, hey, his PR, the best part about the story is he gets hit up right as he's as he's beating off, which I just thought was funny. The way he tells the story.
At 3 a.m. in Vegas.
He's got his Kleenex under his chin. He's getting ready, and the way he finds out is even more fascinating. As he's getting ready to start his act, he gets a text.
It's funnier.
He
because
gets a text.
He has a buddy who's
There's
like,
even more to it.
So the lead up is awesome though. So I got to tell the lead up. So he gets this stack of porn DVDs because he's got a buddy who's a comedian, but he's also like a producer in the porn industry or something. He's always got these DVDs, so he gives him a stack of DVDs, and every once in a while. Well, every single time he like mixes into the stack a tranny one, and he doesn't tell him, and they're not labeled. So he's like, "Shit, there's like a one."
He knows it's in there, but he doesn't know which one.
Yeah, there's like a 5% chance I'm gonna hit a tranny porn right away. So he's like in his room in Vegas, with his like clean tissue like underneath.
He talks about it as an ascot.
Yeah, like his ascot, and he puts the DVD in, and sure enough, it's the tranny one. So he's like, I go limp, and I got to go up there, and I'm changing the DVD, and then I get this text message. From
this chick who he hadn't talked to in about 4 years.
So crazy.
He's like they had went out a couple times. Nothing had ever even happened with this chick. The text simply says, "I will give you head twice a day for the rest of your life for $2 million. I will just show up at your house and leave, no questions asked, twice a day for the rest of your life for $2 million." He's like, "What the fuck does this text mean?" And almost verbatim after this text, he gets his PR guy starts blowing his phone up. He's like, "Okay, dude, we got to get you on a plane. Good Morning America wants you on in 3 hours." He's in Vegas. He wants you on in 3 hours in New York, and then Katie Couric wants you on. 2020 wants you on, or whatever. He's like, "What the fuck is happening in my life?" And he decides. He finds the PR guy says what's happening. Facebook's going live. You own all these shares. Somebody found out from the New York Times who he's pissed about. He's like, "It's this fucking guy from the New York Times." This is an artist who didn't want any part of his life out in the open. He was very happy and content with his life. So he's like, I don't want to talk to anyone. I can't be myself. I only respect one man, Howard Stern. He's a guy. And the way he looks at it, which is interesting. He looks at it. This is a guy who came into a ridiculous amount of money, and is the only guy he could look at would relate to what he's about to go through. He's like, "I'm going to go on that show." So he fucking cancels on everybody else besides Barbara Walters, which was kind of awesome that he did after that and got her to go graffiti some wall randomly in New York, which is just awesome in its own right. So he goes on Howard Stern to talk about it. This Stern, obviously the story is just fascinating that this kid's getting into this, but he starts to explain his life story and the way this guy lives, which was more interesting than him ever making any money on stock. But he goes into his life of being an artist, making a little bit and realizing he needed to do something else with his life, and found himself being somewhat of a compulsive gambler at the age of 15. And at 15 to 26, he would go to Vegas nonstop, and he lost his ass every time. And he was still doing art, but he was making a little bit. He was selling him 200, 300, and for anybody listening, go check out David Choe's work. It's amazing, and it's on Facebook if you guys want to watch the show. He goes and he loses. So then he's like, I got to come up with a better solution. So he comes up with this random progression system, which it's not random. If you read books, they talk about it,
it's a really
which is
famous
basically
one,
just
system.
at any game in Vegas, it's basically you bet 10, you lose 10, you bet 20. You win, you're back to even, start over again. And that was his method. Now at 27, something registered that he could do this. And what he was doing is he had a rule. He'd only stay in Vegas for 72 hours, 3 days. And basically any winnings he would take, he would pull back out and then stop for that session and maybe play again later, but he would always pull the winnings back. And he got to a place where he was winning.
He always had someone with him he could trust that would keep him on his system, so he didn't get out.
He always had somebody behind him.
Yeah.
So
and it wasn't a chick.
Yeah, yeah. He hates. The only times he's lost is from 26 to now 30 something. He's only lost 3 times, and they were all. He said they were all with women around him. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't bet around any woman. And he basically hit a point where he was making $1,000 to $1,500 a time, and he'd go 4 times a month. So he was making anywhere $4,000 to $6,000 a month.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can live on this. I'm an artist. I don't need much. I can live on this. He had no home. He was just staying in suites. And he's like, I could do this. So he's like, well, fuck, I don't really need to paint as much anymore. You know what? Fuck it. My next painting, $10,000. So he went from like $200 paintings, like $10,000. When they hit $10,000, all of a sudden everybody wanted them. And all of a sudden he blew up as this like international artist of like, holy shit, you need to get a hold of one of these guys' pieces. His prices are going out of control. So he starts blowing up. And at this point, Sean Parker hits him up. And for anybody not in the know, Sean Parker was the creator of Napster. And Sean Parker was like upset, and this is kind of funny too. He was obsessed with this guy's art, and he's like, "Hey, I want to buy one of your pieces." Like a lot of rich douches, like, "Hey, I want to get a Banksy, I want to get Shepard Fairey, I want to get one of your original pieces." But he goes, "I got a problem. My business is being sued for like $1 trillion, so I can't really do this right now." And at the time, David had no idea because this guy had wrote him letters on like what he wanted, and he's like, I couldn't tell if he was a fucking nut job or he was just passionate. But they'd be like,
He was just
I
sending
wanted
him,
to.
he was
That's
just sending him
Justin Timberlake,
adjectives.
right?
Yes, this is Justin
Yeah.
Timberlake. He'd
He
be
was
like,
just sending him adjectives.
He's like, I want it sexually.
confusion, but sexual, some eroticism with some
yeah, all this random shit he's reading. He's like, what? He's like, what the fuck?
Uncertainty.
Yeah, uncertainty
Yes.
is like one of them. He's like, and he's like reading these. He's like, is this guy fucking serious? But then he talks to him, and he's like, the Napster guy's like, okay, well maybe this guy has some money. So time passes, he doesn't get a piece. He starts another one. Whatever Sean Parker's next one was like Plaxico. Do you remember, Jay? Like he talked about in the article. It's like Plaxico or something else that didn't do well. He didn't make money, but he messaged David back. He's like, trust me, something's gonna hit, and when I do, I'm gonna get a piece from you. Along comes Facebook, and now this is around when it was just at Harvard and I believe Stanford were the two colleges it was at. But he came back to him and he said, hey, we have this office building. This is going to be huge, and we have money, or we're gonna get money. Come out and do this. And like, oh, fuck, dude, I don't know. And he remembered Sean when he was the skinniest fucking white dude, curly hair, looked like a knob, and he's like, nobody's giving this kid money. Then he saw Sean, basically because of Facebook and because of what he thought about it, worked out, got buff, went to the fucking tanning bed, like bought suits. All of a sudden, he's like, I watched this kid transform just for this company to get money. And he's like, holy shit. So he's like, all right, I'll come in and talk because I can't believe you're doing this. Sean gets money from, I believe it was the PayPal people who gave them their first backing. And they're like, here's the deal. We'll pay you $60,000 for this big mural, or you could take it in stock. And he's like, well, fuck. I'm a gambler, but you know what? I believe in Sean. Like, if that kid's willing to do this shit over this company, because he's seen him fail at these two other ones where he didn't give a shit. All of a sudden, now he's like wearing suits and like trying to be a baller. So he's like, all right.
This is at a point in time where he's really kind of hurting for money. Like he's like, yeah, I wasn't doing.
Oh, he just got back.
He just got back from
Japan. a prison
Yeah.
sentence in Japan, which
So
is
he's
another
like,
great story.
I needed the cash, but I'm a betting man. So
So that's the whole Facebook spiel. He takes his stock, whatever else. But he tells these stories, dude. Like he tells these stories about being in Japan, and he gets locked up. He's a Korean in a Japanese prison, which Japanese don't like Koreans at all. I didn't know this until the story. I thought all Asians loved Asians. And that's
racist.
Is that racist? Is that too soon?
You say in a racist voice.
And then no, I did that one other time, and it was really bad. And he goes over there and he gets locked up for like stealing a bike and knocking out a cop. I believe he gets. And the original sentence is like 7 years or something. So he's in there and he's like, This is a story I didn't even tell you guys. So he thinks he's
that
not
part's
getting
so
out,
good.
but he gets in this fight with this cop. And at one point, another cop sees him. He thinks he's going to run, but the cop comes up behind him, a bigger cop, and puts his knee right into the back of this dude, and it actually ruptures his spleen. But he can't do anything.
Yeah.
So come a week into being in jail, he's like, I'm fucking dying, and he knows he is. He knows there's something. He's like coughing up blood. He's like, yeah, and the Japanese prison guards you go into solitary. Everybody in Japan goes into solitary. There's no open jail system. So he's like, they're not believing me, and you only get one break a day, and it's for smoke breaks. But he didn't smoke, and he's like, and they're not believing I have a problem because I can't see it. So at this point, he's like, it's awesome because it's a sink or swim. He's like, fuck. So like they go to the smoke break. He's like, no, I don't need to go. He takes his head and he fucking throws it into his jail cell over and over until he busts his nose and his face is bleeding. And the wardens come in and they're like, you're fucking, if you did this on purpose and there's nothing wrong with you, you're getting fucking life. You're never leaving this jail. So he goes, and sure enough, they do the fucking scan, and he's got a ruptured spleen. They're like, I can't believe you're alive. Whatever else, they fix him, give him antibiotics. He gets back into the car, and he's thinking to himself, he's like, I'm going to be in this fucking jail for 7 years. And this is a guy who's kind of eccentric anyways, dude, and he's fucking out there. Goes, I can't be in a jail, dude. This isn't my life. I can't do this. So he's thinking he's going to escape. Now, he's already told another prisoner. He's like, I didn't get the fuck. The only other prisoner who could speak English a little bit, he's like, I'm getting the fuck out. They're like, dude, nobody escapes a Japanese jail. It's solitary. You're here. But he's in this car now.
And you're on
and he's
an
outside.
island.
It's like that jail in Batman, right?
Yeah, exactly. So he's on this island. He's in this, but now he's out because he's gone to the hospital and he's in this car.
With an
and
old guard.
With an old guard who's like sitting next to him, and the other guard had got out to go do something. And he's looking at, and the car keys were still in the fucking car. And at this point, his mind literally is going nuts. He's thinking he's like, I'm gonna fucking kick, Sherlock Holmes in the head. I'm gonna jump up, drive the car. And the best part is like, I'm gonna fucking swim back to Korea. I'm gonna steal a boat and I'm gonna get back to Korea and I'm gonna be safe. I'm never gonna come back to this fucking island, whatever else. He literally gets to the point of leaning over and getting ready to position. He's been moving slightly as his old man is sort of falling asleep next to him. He's like, I'm going to kick him in the head up against the glass, and then I'm gonna get this car. And he positions himself to get ready to do it. And as he like literally leans back with his feet, everything sort of hits him, and he's like, I could fucking kill this guy, and if I fucking kill him, I'm never getting. This is gonna be the worst thing ever. And he starts crying uncontrollably.
And the guy's like, "Oh, you're okay."
That's a really nice.
He's just like, "Oh, it's all right." And he's just like petting on the back. He's just like, "Oh, you'll be fine. You won't."
I
almost killed you.
That's the final stage of grief, right? He went through all the stages of grief.
But he talks about. So he goes back in, and he talks about like his time in these jails. And I was telling you guys earlier what was funny as hell to me, and it's like this mind trip. He's like, they try to brainwash you subliminally in the nicest Japanese way possible, where they have automated messages spoken by women saying, when the sun rises, you have no real clue. It's just, good morning, it's 7 a.m. Please wake up. Have a nice day. And then it's lunchtime, it's medication time, and it's nonstop. And he's already tripped out.
Everybody, have a beautiful day.
So he instantly gets to this part. He's like, and this is a guy who's obsessed with masturbation too. He talks about this many times in the show about his obsession with masturbation. And so Stern's instantly like, well, you fucking masturbate nonstop? He's like, well, yeah, I mean, of course, you do that. But he's like, you want to take it up a notch because you got nothing else to do.
I just love really quick when we say the word masturbation, and like Jason was just kind of like,
he's getting smaller and smaller.
Were you thinking about walruses?
No, I was thinking about funny. I was thinking about Howard Stern. I've never seen Howard Stern before. This is my first watching this video. Is the first, and there's a black woman,
Robin is a partner
in the.
Been with him
like
for
co-host.
a very long time.
Yeah, since like
she
the
was the weather person at WNBC.
way back when they
who
very first
wasn't
started.
supposed to ever talk to him, but he just started talking to her. And the producers were like, this is bullshit. You don't talk to your weather person. Your weather person does the weather, and you do your show, and you leave each other alone. But he kept bringing her into the conversation.
It's like the Lisa May role in Kevin and Bean in the morning. If you ever listen to K-Rock, like where she just does traffic, but all of a sudden the traffic chicks is there. You go,
and then she
so Lisa,
laughs
what do
a
you got
lot.
going on? I don't know. I do traffic.
Jason, you should watch. They made a movie about Howard Stern.
Private
and he
Parts.
comes off very endearing and
it's actually very
He's good in this show.
entertaining. It's an entertaining and
very
well-written
honest
film.
guy.
What I was going to say is, I thought it was. Apparently, this is a show. It was
Robin Quivers.
unbelievably inappropriate that this guy would have this conversation about this.
Because he did with Robin. I mean, he asked Robin
Because
a bunch
there's
of
a
stuff
woman
too.
in the room.
In the room, right? And I knew you would probably say that. But Howard Stern in that episode is super pretty low key.
He's way chill.
He's pretty
he's
chill
just
in that
kinda letting
episode.
him
If
go.
you've seen other things, but he talks about. So he goes, I had remembered as a kid reading a book on tantric sex, and one of the things in the tantric book was to ejaculate without ejaculate. So you orgasm,
You orgasm, but you don't.
but you don't
squinting.
but you don't jizz. So you basically like you get the feeling, but you don't make a mess. And he's like,
to clean that up.
But the way he explains it, he's like, so I remember I read it, and part of it is you taking your hand and pushing right up
Just
on your taint,
jam on the
and
scrote.
you basically are stopping the tube that goes up your dick as you get ready to come. Right at the point where you're going to come, you
the
basically
vast-
jam up. So he
the
goes
vast
in there
difference,
and
by the way.
he talks about it. He goes, Sword's like, so what the fuck? Did it work the first time? He goes,
Like,
he goes,
no, you jam it up there
He goes,
and it hurts, and you're like, fuck, and the shit comes out anyway. You got to clean up
yeah,
all
he's
over.
like,
the
I made a
place.
fucking mess. It went everywhere. I didn't think it was going to happen. He
It
goes,
hurt. It sucked.
But 2 weeks.
He perfected
2
it
weeks
in
in,
2
he
weeks.
perfected it. And you could come, and nothing comes out. And he was like, can you still do it? And he goes, oh, yeah, I got that shit down now. And to me, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, that'd be a fucking party trick. I'd have you come out of parties and be like, David, show this shit off because it's awesome.
We didn't get a clown. We got
that,
something.
that, and I just
still
thought in
making balloon
general
animals.
of every jackass trying to do this at home and fucking making themselves cry as they
kinda
jam their
reminds-
hand up their
It reminds
taint.
me of Jay Muse and Zach and Marie make a porno when he can like make his boner like immediate, and he just stands up and he's like, "Ooh," and he makes a boner It's like that. Except you're keeping yourself popping.
The Dutch rudder. The Dutch rudder. It's not gay. It's not gay if it's
Double
your
Dutch
arm.
rudder. We're not touching. It's not gay.
The double Dutch. No, give me your arm. What? Just give me your arm. Look, dude, we're not touching.
So what was your takeaway from this story?
No,
besides the tantric
well, his
masturbation.
He's just got a pretty intense story, I think.
Yeah, and his outlook on his biggest accomplishment. This is something even and Howard Stern found fact because believe it or not, and you might appreciate that Howard Stern's big thing is he's very devout to his wife, and he believes in the sanctity of marriage, and he's all about it. Considering how many porn stars he has in there and everything else, you maybe wouldn't think so, but he is. David Choe's biggest accomplishment is that he's never been married and doesn't have kids. That was his big thing. And Stern's like, what the hell? This is this guy. And he laughed it off. He's like, this is this guy's number one accomplishment that he's never done this. And Stern tried to talk to him about that, about like, hey, I'm sure you get more pussy than you know what to do with. And that's his big thing. This guy just loves having sex all the time.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, but that's just me. I feel like any girl I'm going to be with for any amount of time, like it's not going to work out. Shit's going to fall through. I'm going to be brokenhearted and it's just going to start all over again and blah, blah, blah. And it's a good watch if you get or listen. You don't even have to watch it if you just listen to the guy talk. But just his whole life story, his Vegas stories, even he still has no home.
That's crazy.
He just has suites at every hotel he stays at, and he bought his parents the $1 million home they live in, but he has no home.
He's a nomad.
He's
a
been to
Vegas
Africa,
nomad.
dude. He plays with like an African band as a
home
drummer.
is-
Dude,
home
he
is where he
literally
lays
is
his
like
head.
the weirdest guy ever.
Home is where you grab
he-
your taint.
2 fingers.
I will.
That's like the 2-finger death punch right there. Gah!
We need to start a Kickstarter campaign to get Adam to do it.
Hey,
You don't need a Kickstarter campaign for that. You need $10.
And a 6-pack of beer.
Yeah.
listener Peter Vaughn would like to know what the technique is again.
So Peter,
Here's your technique. You close off the
that
vas
tweeted?
deferens as your
Is that what it-
orgasm
is that the name of
priming.
it?
That's the name of it. That's the
I
tube that
fucking love you that you know that.
brings
so do I. This
the
is awesome.
semen to the penis.
Fennel teaches 7th
there's a
grade
spot.
science.
There's
by
a
the way.
spot right.
Sex
right.
ed.
So I guess it would be anterior of the prostate. That's the spot that is closer to the penis than to the butthole.
No, it's right
The
below your
taint,
balls.
yeah,
No,
it's
it's
the
a
taint.
taint. It's
You
right
jam-
below your balls.
You jam
Did
it
you
in
just call
the
it
taint.
the butthole?
And he talks about it. And he talks about it. He goes, Howard, next time you come, put your fingers under there. You can
Yeah.
feel what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And he goes, just
But-
jam it up in there next
But
time.
apparently, you can work your Kegel muscles enough to where you can do it.
Guys
with
don't have Kegels, that's
musculature,
chicks,
and
right?
you don't
I
have
think he
to.
does.
You don't have to like block it with your hand. You can block it with your muscles.
Peter, piece of advice. I'd say start slow. Work your way up.
3 times
gloves.
a day.
And when it
Don't-
feels comfortable
don't
enough, give
jam
it a
quite
good
yet.
give it a good pressure.
3 times a day, 2 weeks, you'll be golden.
And as soon as we get Adam to try it and find out
Yeah.
the technique, we'll let you know.
Adam will do it live on the show.
I tell you what, we'll do that. We get enough
Top of the
listeners.
top.
We get enough listeners in one show.
That
Adam's
should-
fucking doing
That
it.
should be our next podcast challenge.
Yeah.
Who's gonna work that out?
Adam will YouTube it.
That'll be up on the YouTube page. We'll black out the taint.
I can
Oh, no,
add a-
we'll leave the taint. We
Leave
can
the
show
taint.
taint.
Yeah, taint's fine.
So
what
balls,
is-
balls and cock are out.
Leave that out.
What is the Franz deference named
Franz.
after?
No,
Franz deferens.
Franz
Franz
Deferens
deferens
is the
was an
actress from The
actress-
Nanny.
from the 30s. Very short-lived career.
I literally thought you were going to say the Joe Vance difference. What?
So I'm going to ask you guys a question real quick. Which do you think is worse? And I honestly want you to answer comparatively and not just say they're both as equally bad.
Does this include Jason?
Franz
Yes.
deference.
Which is worse, sexism or racism?
How did you get there from where we were just at? Can you just...
Well, taint goes right into sexism.
Sexism, though?
Taint,
Sex.
Some people's
Ism.
taints are
Sex.
This got real
Jism.
serious.
Jism.
Some
and
people's
sex.
Sexism
you
or
just-
racism?
some people's are taints are different color from their normal bodies. So like,
Define. I know it sounds weird, but define both of those. Like,
okay, so sexism is that you have negative preconceived notions about the opposite sex.
Negative being a key word there.
Yes, and racism is you have negative,
So I don't
the
like
same
black or I
negative-
don't like homosexuals. One would be sexism, one would be racism.
Well,
Well,
homosexual
so there's a
thinking
difference.
women.
There's a difference because I want to
I
be
think,
clear. Like,
yeah.
is it I don't like or I have negative preconceptions? of?
Negative preconceptions.
negative preconception.
Because there's
And I
a
don't
difference
think,
there.
Yeah, I don't think it would be.
I think-
it would be women.
I think negative
Okay.
preconceptions.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Negative
yeah.
preconceptions could lead to like or dislike, obviously. So that's kind of a natural evolution of your preconceptions. But which do you think has the most harmful impact on humanity?
Racism.
The sexism or the
Wait,
racism?
well, so there's two different things because there's which one do you think is worse and which one has the most negative impact on humanity? I guess those are probably
Those
the
are the
same
same
thing.
thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd say racism.
I'd say
The reason being is when you do have sexism, you're literally going one or the other. When you have racism, you have many different races, so
Now,
look,
you're
this
affecting
is-
more.
It affects more people.
Well, what's
Okay.
interesting is
I get
racism.
Does it affect more?
This is not true, but our
'Cause it's men
race
and women.
our race laws in the country were adopted before our sexist laws in the country were adopted. So we actually attempted to tackle racism first, and then sexism came afterward. So does that mean that racism was a bigger deal than sexism?
Well, so this is what I'd say, and like obviously they're both two terrible things, and all those caveats that
course,
you throw out
but
there.
maybe.
But if you had to, in a hypothetical way, choose, I would say, well, racism has led to slavery, which is terrible, and the Holocaust,
sexism.
which is terrible. But that's true, yeah. Then so is sexism.
Here's
That's
a-
tough.
Look, this is
I go to
such an
population.
easy question to answer.
Well, sexism
It
has
really is. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Sexism is against 50% of the population.
That's just what I said.
Racism is not.
Isn't it more like 60%?
wouldn't racism be
51.
higher percentage
That's what
of
I don't
what
think
was
so.
just saying. When you have, you're only affecting a man or woman. When you do racism, it's man or woman.
Well, think about it this way.
It's both.
Well, it
Because
depends on
because
what-
it's a race.
The population.
Think about the
Population.
population. You're saying
May I-
sexism is worse.
May I
No,
speak?
racism.
Jason, may I speak? May I speak?
Yeah.
Sexism accounts for potentially about 50% of the population. Racism, depending on your race, could
Exactly.
be 90% of the
That's what I'm
population.
talking
Because
about.
it depends on your race. If you're racist and you're
If you're the
in a
Aryan Brotherhood,
minority race,
you essentially feel that anyone outside of the Aryan Brotherhood is not even like.
But racism isn't necessarily. See, this is where I wanted to define it. Racism, I don't believe, is I am prejudiced against all other races. It's I have negative preconceptions
for one race.
of a race or a couple races.
One or four
I
or
disagree
seven.
with that. Yeah, I
Okay.
disagree with that. I think.
Yeah, I'd
racism
say
I think it's
most-
anything
yeah.
other than your race is how
Yeah,
I've
I'd say
always take that.
most races.
There are obviously some gradients.
Yeah,
in
I guess
between,
I don't
but-
know. Yeah, I guess there is some gradients because there are people who are like, I don't like that race.
Yeah.
But then if you
I also
consider
don't like
somebody,
those women.
Yeah,
Men.
but if you consider someone a
Or men.
racist, you would say, oh, they hate every race.
You
but
could
they're
look at
white.
it this way. Look, if there's two options, here's the deal. This is the. I'll give you the atom breakdown since he's not here. Racism, obviously, just pure population of every other race other than yourself, because that's how I view it. Sexism, she could still hate me and sleep with me. So really,
Think about
is
it
it?
this
A,
way.
is it? It's kind of a no-brainer.
You get in your car and you hate everybody, or you get in
Jason
your
Think
car.
about that
signing
one.
off.
Think about that one. Let that one stir in your head for a second. It'll
You
make
get in
sense.
your car and you hate
Disassociate
everybody,
myself with this.
or you get in your car and you hate everybody except hot chicks. How does that pan out for you?
No, I mean, I can walk up. I can walk up and be like, "Sweetie, I'm a sexist. I hate you. God, I love an asshole." I'm telling you, it works out sometimes.
At some point, I genuinely do want to get a female on the show to talk about what is the attraction to a jerk.
That's a good question.
I think
Fair
we can
enough.
handle that.
I
I
would
think
say
it's the same thing as like a dude being attracted to a woman who is not
crazy
interested in him
woman?
at all
Yeah.
or crazy. You know?
Yeah,
Like, it's that whole like repulsion attracts. You know.
No, my favorite thing. I had two friends, and one of my friends was a very attractive like actor dude, and the other one was more of your like character actor kind of goofy guy. And he was talking. The attractive guy was talking to someone. He's like, "How do you get girls?" He's like, "It's all about personality." Da da da. And then my one like goofy friend was like, "And you fucking look like this guy." Like that's what it all came down to. It's like, oh yeah, great advice from
much.
fucking McConaughey here. Like, fuck you. That it's like suddenly like, oh, it's really because he has a great person. It's like, no, you fucking got blessed to look like that, and now you get laid all the time. And that will not happen to anybody else.
It's
Do you
so
think it
awesome.
matters if he has a 3-inch dick and he still looks like that? Do you think that matters?
yeah.
It will later.
Yeah.
It will
Yeah.
later.
Well,
Up front, it won't.
I'm sure in longevity it would, but like
But, I
the
mean, at a
first pop,
certain
it probably
point,
wouldn't.
right.
No, it wouldn't matter
Yeah.
because they wouldn't know.
They wouldn't know until it's too late. Can't turn
Fascinating
back.
you bring up both the sexism and that. I watched last night a Vice episode on HBO, and the Vice episode was about the population in China. And I think we're all aware, like, China has some pretty strict rules that have been there since the 70s about
Would you
one
like to
child.
bring up Wikipedia so we can talk about the population of China?
Please. One child.
You're just trying to keep him occupied so you can
No,
keep
he
talking.
actually might find this fascinating. To one child. The family can have
Yeah.
one child. Now, what I did know about that is China is having a huge problem with it being a ratio right now of 5 men to 1 woman.
Because isn't that part of it too? I thought it had.
They're
to be,
having a huge problem.
But I thought that it was 1 female. It wasn't 1 child. It was 1 female. Or you
Oh,
could
I'm
have
not sure
as
the
many
specific.
men as you want.
I thought it was just one child.
It was broken
but
by
they're
sex,
they're
right?
they're having
Yeah.
big issues with this
Because of it,
and
yeah.
and they have basically dating. Oh, not matchmaking parks, because this is a huge deal now because of the ratios. And it followed this to the super nerdiest guy I think I've ever seen in my fucking life. Have you seen this, Sean?
No, but the pecking order is
Dude,
nutty.
it's a white guy. So he has glasses, pimple face, horrible haircut, just and he's walking around this park, and it's a park known in China, in Beijing, where they have a sheet of paper and you put your picture on it and your specs, like how much you make, what you do, and you walk around and you try to sell yourself to parents, and it's nothing but parents who have pictures of their kids. And they try to matchmake. They're like, "How much money do you make?" And people would walk up.
They're not
Mothers
selling.
would be like,
they're not selling like their 2-year-old
No,
kid.
no,
are
no,
they?
no, no, no.
They're like,
It's of age.
yes. In 10
"It's of
years,
age."
you can totally.
But it's all about status
have a
and
list
financial
too,
status.
apparently.
yes.
So they basically are like, he's
one
like,
child
I work
law.
in media. Is this how much you make? And blah, blah, blah. So he's like, he bombs horribly in the park. Nobody wants this little white guy. So he's like, I'm going to go to a matchmaker. He goes to a matchmaker and he's like, hey, I'm going to take you to an event. Talk about, he's like, I think I make a lot of money for China. She's like, no, you don't. So then she goes, then she's like,
nope.
she's like, you don't look like an American cowboy. She's saying all this shit that's negative, but she's doing it with a smile to start with. And I'm cracking up because she's literally insulting the hell out of this kid. But then she goes, what do your parents do? And he's like, my dad's an engineer. She's like, good, go with that. That's your big in. Say that, and you're like, you're the only male child. He's like, yeah, I have a sister. He's like, she doesn't matter. Girls don't count. It's you're the boy. The family sees you. If they die, you're the first one in line to inherit all the money. So the families want to see that. So he goes to this fucking this mixer. Or it's not even a mixer. What it turns out to be is like this fucked up dating show that's out on the street. That's like a mix of karaoke and dance.
That's not a dating
And
show.
it's
That's
so
prostitution.
fucked up. He has to get up there and do these weird dance offs against these other guys.
That's just,
fool.
and then
that's
they
just
hook
a
him
block
up.
party.
Valuable
where I'm
trait to
from.
have, being a good dancer.
So we actually
It's so bad.
we actually legitimately do have a woman's response to what is the what's the attraction
Was it
to
on
the jerk.
Was it on
Good, love to
Twitter or
hear
was
it.
it on?
This comes to us from Mixler,
Okay.
Mixler.
from Janelle, who says it's all about changing the guy. Back to basic literature.
It's a project.
It's containing the beast.
But I think a lot of men love projects too.
Exactly.
I think it goes both ways.
Because
And I
if a
can
woman
speak-
just like rolls over and she's just like, whatever you want, you're just like,
All right, I got to be honest with you. Any potential attraction about changing a girl from crazy to normal, that's not attractive.
No, not at
that
all.
sounds like a horrible, horrible time.
but you
I
don't
can-
want a woman just to
I can
roll
tell you
over.
firsthand, it
well,
won't ever
yeah,
happen.
Yeah, no, that's true story. Personal experience.
I think me and Jay could talk about probably back-to-back
that's-
stories.
that's
It
college
sounds,
stories.
it sounds like you want to. I'm going to keep with my car analogies because they seem to be working. You want to buy like a smart car and turn it into a Porsche. It's probably not going to happen.
No, it's not a
not
smart.
gonna
It's not a
happen,
smart
Janelle.
car. It's one of those cars that just keeps breaking down in different
Yeah.
spots, and you
Yeah.
think that if
It's
you
like
just
your
fix
old
that spot,
Jetta.
eventually you'll get around to actually
It's
improving
your old
it.
Jetta that you got lucky in the back
just
seat
keeps
in high
breaking
school.
down.
They're like, no, this is going to pan
no,
out. I
it's-
promise.
Damn Germans.
No, Jen, it's not going
I
to
think
work.
it goes both ways. I think
Janelle.
I think as humans even,
Try
I
and
think
change
that's a
that.
struggle.
Yeah.
I think when you have the perfect thing, you inherently end up wanting the bad thing again. When you have the bad thing, you're like, why the fuck did I lose the perfect
Grass
one?
is always
Grass
greener.
is
Oh
greener.
yeah,
Yeah.
Always.
But I think that's a maturity
my
thing too,
line.
because once you get to a certain point, you're like, you know what, I'm
I
pretty
fucking
happy
no.
with what I have
You
right
give
now.
up at some point. You're like, whatever.
I'm settling.
One man's self-satisfaction is another man's settling.
I tell you what, if any man that can control the taint can control probably crazy women.
All I have to
I
say
would
is-
back him on Kickstarter.
We need a shirt that says "Control the Taint."
Control the taint.
That is
YOLO.
now that'll be made and up for
CTT.
sale on Nerdtastic and 3D's website.
I hear that if you kickstart, if you donate $100 to What the Food, you get a CTT.
Can we
shirt.
Can we get a box with that?
for the first 100 backers.
First 100 backers.
a CTT shirt.
Yeah.
We appreciate the comment. Thank you.
No, Joe, thank you so much because I think you're spot on. I think
Yeah.
that's exactly it. I think it
very
goes both
insightful.
ways.
I don't believe it goes both ways. But this is just my own personal preference. That sounds like the worst possible thing in the world to try and change somebody.
So you've dated just amazing women your whole life, and then
Not
Katie
at all.
just fell in your lap.
Not
and
at
she was
all. But
amazing
I
too?
also don't date with the intention of changing somebody. If they're not the
I don't
most
think
amazing
it's-
person, I'm not dating them anymore.
But I don't think it's a conscious
Yeah.
I want to change this person. It's just kind of like you know that there's something there that you can
You see the
influence.
potential. You
maybe.
just gotta knock the
Yeah.
garbage.
And that's what
away.
you
I don't
think.
know.
It's like seeing a very attractive
Not that
woman, but
garbage.
she's not
There's a
dressed
diamond in the
right. And
rough.
she's got like bad makeup on and a bad haircut, and you look and you're just like, hey, there's
That's like the
potential
light-
there.
that's
I
like
can
the-
make this
yeah.
into this.
That's like
I
the
can make this ugly
librarian.
duckling into a swan.
That's what I think about Sean every day.
Thank you.
Kearney.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, both of you actually.
Hey, Sean, I already see it.
Thank you.
They don't, you know.
My ship is sailed.
I am all that.
over.
But isn't that every teen movie? Like that's every fucking movie you watch growing up. It's like,
Especially Drew Barrymore's.
yeah, it's
All of
every
them.
movie is that she's all that sort of thing of like, oh, I saw what she really was.
What the fuck is
Does
the name
anyone
of that
miss
one
Freddie
movie?
Prinze Jr.?
Nope.
No.
Even his
Scooby-Doo.
parents. Even Frederick.
What was the name of that
Prinze?
one movie that
Nope.
Drew Barrymore was in that had like it was
E.T.?
like
Never been kissed.
it was like fantasy-ish kind of
Ever After.
Yeah.
Yes, that one. And then the dude had the gigantic codpiece, and the only thing I'd ever look at it, that entire exchange where they're trying to emote to each other, was that fucking gigantic codpiece.
You know what?
I like what you brought up. She's all that because that one legitimately is about that scenario.
And you know it because you looked at it too.
But seriously,
Off the
nobody
rails.
misses Freddie Prinze Jr.
No, not at all.
My wife actually met Freddie Prinze.
We're gonna be having Freddie.
She
Prinze-
doesn't miss him.
We're gonna have
No,
Freddie
she
Prinze
doesn't
Jr. on
really.
the podcast next week. So
Sean, get on that.
The codpiece is a covering, flap, or pouch that attaches to the front of the crotch of men's trousers and
Wait, who
usually
didn't know what a codpiece was?
accentuates the genital area. It was held closed by string ties, buttons, or other methods.
Do not wear one while you're trying to
do the
jam
taint.
taint.
Peter, if you're listening
It's in the
still,
way.
do
Yeah.
not put on a cod piece when you're doing it.
Peter's passed out from the pain right now.
That's a lot of peas right there.
Yeah, if you type in codpiece in Wikipedia, there's
some great images that come up.
Really?
there's some disturbing images. Not gonna lie.
It was
I
definitely.
kind of like this. I like this live stuff. I like the feedback.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
it's very good.
Technology and the internets is amazing.
I mean, usually it
Beautiful
takes
thing.
a week to have our two listeners talk back to us. So now it's good that they can do it instantly.
someday it'll be more, Sean.
control the taint.
Control that
Control
taint.
the taint.
I know we gotta. I know we gotta have some geeky topics to talk about, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, Jason actually posted a pretty good one, and I think it stems some other great stories. Jason posted this
Train
this amazing article about a guy, ex Full Sail student, which I thought was awesome at the end, who has a slight disorder with his eyes, slightly cross-eyed, but just cross-eyed enough to maybe if you were talking to him you wouldn't notice it, but it's enough that actually throws his parallax off where he can't see 3D. And
He has no depth.
He has no depth perception, but actually causes him though in 3D movies to not see that. He sees it as a 2D image with a lot of contrast.
Well, it's
You
not-
would have
it's
loved
not
Jurassic
just-
That's the way
Park.
he explained it.
It's not just a 3D movie.
Too far away.
He can't view everyday life. Like there is
Well,
no
with depth,
dimension in everyday life. So imagine closing your one eye, and walking around with one eye closed. That's how he perceives the world.
Like a pirate?
Yeah. So there is no
That
like.
sounds great.
Like look through one eye and try and reach out and touch something that is like a jumbled
It's
mess
actually
of
kinda
cables.
weird.
It's actually a little bit more difficult than you might think.
Negative.
I feels like I'm going blind tomorrow. I'm good.
So no, I actually have a slight lazy eye in one of my eyes, and I cannot perceive 3D as well, like stereo, as well as other people can perceive stereo. So it's more subtle to me than it is to most people.
The animation union covers surgery fixes to that specifically because 3D is a part of our industry now.
Really?
Yep.
Interesting.
I like to call it the AUN.
So along
Moving on.
the same vein as this guy who uses his DS to see the 3D world. I don't know if you got to that part, but he actually uses the 3DS.
Spoiler alert.
Well, yeah, sorry. Just real fast. I give it the gist of the story was is a guy who picked up a 3DS for the first time
And orgasmed.
and basically had a truly. I thought it sounded like a really meaningful and emotional experience where he was crying because he had never perceived the world with depth before. He had two eyes, but it was that point like 10 inches from his face that he could still see depth. and to actually see what we take for granted every single day was something he wrote an article about. It was a really touching article.
And you know what's even more pathetic is the game that he mentions playing, Pilot.
I know, I saw that. I saw that.
64 is the game he mentions. I picked that up when I got my 3DS, and I played it for 5 minutes, and I was like, the 3D in this game makes me want to fucking vomit. It's terrible. I gave the game back, and it changed this guy's life.
So
Josh
let me
is
ask
drinking
you this.
beer with one eye to see if it affects him.
So let me ask you this: if this guy
can't see with
got
two eyes.
a program on his 3DS that let him see the world.
Well, they have a
From
camera.
the camera
So I
through
think
it,
he
could
could.
he actually perceive the world as three-dimensional?
Yeah, I had the
Is
exact
he
same thought.
doing
There
that?
is a camera on the back of the 3DS.
Yes, there
so.
is, and it's a stereo camera.
He talks about that in the article, like trying to do that and take pictures.
Yeah.
He was trying to take 3D pictures.
So what's interesting is there's a few years back I saw a program on TV about a person who he was blinded in infancy by an accident, and he had not been able to see until he was in his 40s or 50s. But they actually were able to do a surgery that brought his eyesight back. So here's a person who lived his entire life without eyesight, and now he has eyesight. He can recognize colors. He can recognize shapes. He understands like what he's seeing. It took him a long time to kind of learn.
How do you understand that?
It took him a long time to learn what he was seeing and sort of train his eyes. But the interesting thing was he didn't understand depth. He didn't understand it at all. So his brain was not trained the way that our brains are trained to perceive depth properly. So everything that he looks at looks like a flat sheet of paper. And the weird thing about it is when he walks up to a curb, he cannot tell that the street is lower than the curb at all. So if he goes to step over the curb, he actually falls because he doesn't realize it. So he still has to walk with a cane so he can tell how far away things are because his brain just doesn't understand depth properly. It's really,
Like
really,
his eyes can do it,
yes,
but his brain
his
aren't.
eyes can do it, but his brain just does not understand how to.
I think
how
that's
to
like being in
interpret those
prison
images.
your whole life and getting out.
and then just not
And
being
then-
able to do good things
No.
ever.
Yeah, that's no. It's
You
not
only
at all.
understand rape,
So
and that's it.
So Jay, I'm sorry, Jay. I think Jay Pecco doesn't understand what happens in prison. So in prison, they don't make you close your eyes the entire time.
I mean, you can. It's an option.
Yeah,
I mean, like Morgan Freeman in Shawshank Redemption. Like he didn't know anything else.
No, he could see a lot of things. He just didn't understand that he didn't have to ask to go to the bathroom. It was really quite simple what he didn't understand. And cars.
I think
were
it was a little
lot
deeper
faster.
than that.
You mean the outside world?
Yeah, the outside world.
And it was when Brooks got out, and he's like, "There's cars everywhere." Like when I was there, one car was like
hands
fascinating.
hurt.
But yeah, but let me.
I don't think I like it here anymore. I'm not.
But let me
staying.
say, so I watch a lot of prison documentaries, and the one thing,
That's the one thing keeping them out.
the one thing I don't understand is now, like in a day and age where these prisoners have TV and shit like that, it's like it must
Not
be
in Russia,
amazing to them. Yeah, Russia's fucked
Russia
up. By
prison.
the way.
Prison fucks
Hold on, let me
you.
tell you.
We've talked about
Yeah,
Russia
because let me
prison.
just say really quickly that there's a documentary called "Russia's Toughest Prisons."
Yes,
That's
it's
what
on
we know.
Netflix.
We all,
Look it up.
we all talked
Okay.
about that.
Nat
one.
Geo.
And that's crazy. yeah.
yeah.
Well, you always have a bag over your head if you go
Yeah,
anywhere.
and
like,
I've seen so many prison documentaries. Like, there are literally none. Like, I scour for ones I haven't seen. That shit was the worst I've ever seen. But anyways, in America, if you're in a prison, you have TV, you know things. So it's like, I don't think it's that crazy to come out of prison. Because you're like, what do you think? You're like, oh my god, an iPhone? It's like, I've seen a bunch of TV ads about what an iPhone is. It must be crazy to like touch things and play with things, but it's not like you're like, oh my god, cars are so fast.
No,
You're
no,
like, I saw a
unless you
fucking
live in
Top
Arizona.
Gear.
We're in the age of technology, so I get it. But like the Shawshank way is still the good like analogy to just back in the day of not knowing.
Yeah,
I'm sure back
those
then it
people,
was very apparent.
It must have been crazy.
I don't know. Can you imagine transitioning from a place where your strength is your only strength? And
No.
you get out into the world and you have to have conversations instead of showing your strength to...
No, I don't think
Like,
that's.
that's
I think that
bleh.
stuff would still be crazy. What always boggles my mind is in like TV shows and stuff where they're like, "What is this telephone?" And it's like, okay, like you weren't watching American Idol last week.
We
in your
landed on
fucking
the
jail
moon!
cell.
Now the fucking prisoners in that Russian prison. If you were there for life,
Yeah, you'd
you
never
would be
know.
cut off from the world.
Yeah.
You would not know. Literally, if we were all in space and you got out, you would have had no
Those
idea.
guys
that
probably
they
don't
got
even
to that
know what a
technology.
Twinkie is. They're,
Yeah,
they're
Ugh,
fucking
and that's
drawn.
probably the worst part.
You should plan a $1.5 million world trip to visit prisons. all
I
over
don't.
The world.
Going to visit a prison
Syndicate it.
because I've thought about this.
Because
I
you could
love
find the
prisons.
prisons
Of course
that you
you
have
have.
not
I've thought about
seen
it.
the specials on.
But no, but here that is interesting. But a prison to me is the same thing I felt when I went to my first strip club. Was there's something about like being around these people in real life and realizing that they're human beings that you go like, oh, wait a second. It's not like fun escapism anymore. It's like terrifying that these poor people are in prison. Not poor people, but that these people, well, they're probably poor, and that's part of the reason. But why are these? You know what I mean? Like it gets real at that.
All right,
moment.
so what's worse, racism, sexism, or classism?
So, I don't understand this is going to sound weird. I don't understand the draw of a strip club. Now, I understand.
That doesn't sound weird at all coming from you. That sounds like that's like what I expected.
That's a typical Tuesday.
I don't know. Hear me out. I understand the attraction of a dancing naked woman or man, depending on your specialty. But the idea of doing that with other people, I find odd.
That's why they have
What do you mean?
private
Private
booths
dances.
to go
Like
into.
what part? Just,
Like you
just
be
being there?
I mean, I've only seen it from like the Beverly Hills Cop, but like the
Wow.
That's a very
Wow.
specific reference. That is the
been a
only
very long
movie
time since you've
series
watched a movie
you've ever seen with a strip
that
club.
had a strip in it.
awesome.
I don't know. It's the
Are
first
you
thing that popped
kidding
into my
me?
head. That's
The Sopranos.
That's amazing.
Look,
This
so
fucking bug is flying around my head. Jesus.
so look, you'll sit around a stage with other dudes. It'd be like us all going to a
So is it like
hang out.
if I put on porn right now, it'd be just as weird that we're
Oh
all
yeah,
watching it?
super weird.
Well, porn,
Why?
I think, slightly different.
Because
you'd want to touch us?
no, because things are probably happening to you down south that I don't want to be. a
Well,
part
I'm
of.
not asking you to look at me. If we go to the pisser, I hope
Exactly.
Things are happening
I'm not
down
talking
south.
about looking. I'm talking about I don't want
things
to be.
are happening.
I'm okay not being around you when that takes
Well,
place.
I'm not going to touch you either.
Hey, check this out.
You've
Is
made
pretty
it
big
weird.
right now?
You've
Is
made it
pretty
weird.
big?
My God, I've been happy all the time, and you fucking made it weird. Goddamn, if I go with Josh ever to a strip club again, I'll look at him and be like, "What? Are you looking at what's happening?"
Strip clubs actually just annoy me now. They annoy me for the fact
Ask you
because
for
like
money the whole time?
they're
That's
asking. I
what
mean,
I
you
don't
know
like,
that, and especially like if you're with your buddies or like in Vegas and stuff like that. Sure, it's fun. You can hang out and like see boobs up there every once in a while. But if you're actually like getting them like coming and doing dances and stuff, it just sexually frustrates you. And then you're there with your boys and you're just gonna go back to your hotel room and just be like, God damn, I just want to have sex
Just
right
control
now."
that
Though
Exactly.
I did get you the craziest
yes.
for his bachelor
Are
party.
you
And that's
sure you
and
wanna-
that's and that's
No,
on the air.
this is legit. No,
Do I
no,
need
this
to
is
switch
legit.
us from a comedy
No,
podcast
no.
to
This is
something
good.
else?
This is good. I'm positive. I think I've even told his
No,
wife
it's
the
the
story.
best.
This was insane. So it's a group of us who were. So this is his bachelor party, and we went to this we got taken to this club. It was supposed to be a strip club, but when we got in there, it was like a normal nightclub. It was a really weird vibe. Then it turned into a strip club, but when it did, there were booths around us where some people were getting dances, and we were just all hanging out. We were having a good time. And it's his bachelor party, but it's feeling kind of weird. I'm like, I look over at my buddy Mark. I said, "Hey, we got to get a Josh a dance. I mean, it's his bachelor party."
A bachelor party, Canada, South Africa, and the United States, also known as the stag
Stag
party.
do. Stag do.
Do never read Wikipedia
Britain.
about
Stag
In
do.
Commonwealth countries, including Great Britain and Ireland, or a bulls party in South Africa. I'm sorry, keep going.
So I look over to we're drinking a beer. I look over to the right. This girl has managed to get this dude's belt off, wrap it around his neck as she does a handstand upside down and like smacking him with her feet. I'm watching with my buddy. I'm like, okay, we track her down. That's Josh. That's Josh. And he has no idea. He's not watching us. He doesn't know what's going on. We literally we find her somewhere walking around after she's been with this dude. She comes up and she's like, hey, whatever. She's like, you guys were looking for me? I'm like, yes. Whatever it's going to take, do some that crazy mind meld shit to him. And he just comes back and he's like, what the fuck just happened? Like, just to look at his eyes with his eyes like...
And that is the reason why now, because of her, why I'm not a huge fan of going to strip clubs anymore. Because she was, like I said, it was amazing.
Talented.
But it just left me going like...
Gymnastic skills.
Was her name Chocolate Thunder?
We'll get you that if you ever go to Vegas. But we went just recently, not too long. We took our team after Rise of the Guardians. That was our gift to our team.
I love DreamWorks.
No, well, that wasn't a DreamWorks thing. That was outside.
No, that was a
part of
personal
it
thing.
because of
that was
DreamWorks,
that.
so.
Yeah.
It's because
It's
of
because of DreamWorks.
No, not really.
No, we
not
did
really.
that shit all by ourselves.
We did do it all by ourselves. They wouldn't
And
back anything,
no,
so it was
that's-
that part was kind of
all
lame.
us.
That was part kind of lame. But we in general, me and Sean, that are artists, it'd be fun for a weekend. But Sean got the experience. I'm like Josh, and it sounds like Jay. I'm not big into strippers at all. Like I find,
I like how you single
find it kind of
everyone
funny.
out. So it's me and Carter are the two. Like we're not like those fucking fiends, Carter and Kearney, who are in a strip club.
He's in the
every
closet.
other day.
You two are in the closet with this shit. And my big thing with them is to see how long I could keep them next to me without giving them any money.
Yeah, I have a buddy who does
And
that,
I push
and
it
they
to a
get
limit,
pissed.
dude, and they get pissed. And
Yeah.
it's so funny to watch how pissed they get, especially when I hit the point of the breaking point, and I'm like, the best part about this is I'm never going to get a dance from you. And I try to do it with a big smile on my face, and they'll look, it just turns like the frown upside down. And then they're like, but being a stripper, it's like, as close as Jason sitting next to me, it's like, you son, hey. I know you want to dance. It's right next to Jay, and I'm laughing hysterically. I'm like, go get him, Tiger.
I
Go
ain't
do what you
have,
gotta do.
I ain't have time to be mad at you.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
No, mine
It's
is
just-
how
it's
much
fascinating.
I can. And I haven't been to too many strip clubs, but on my bachelor party, everybody was doing that, like, oh, buy Kearney a dance, buy Kearney a dance, and I was just seeing how much I could fuck with them as they were dancing with me. And so a couple of the things that they would, so they whisper things in your ear, and so this one girl was like, what did she say? She said something about like, she's like, I love you. And I was like, you should run away with me. We should run away together. And she goes, and it's so great. I'm like, run away. And this is what I said. I was like, we'll go to Catalina. We'll find a nice place. And she goes, well, what would your wife say? And I went, whoa. She'd come too. I wasn't thinking like we'd be dating. I was thinking we'd raise you like the daughter we never had. Like, and I would just say shit because they stay in character. Like, they won't break character. And so I kept doing things like that. Like I
like
wanted.
the top right.
So,
That line is fucking self is gold.
but the best one probably, and this one gets a little raunchy, but it's worth it for the joke. Is this one was rubbing her nipple against my nose.
Jason's gonna
Right?
throw up.
So
This
she's
is the
doing
best.
this is so great, and my wife has heard this story because I was so proud of what I said. Like that's all I remembered from it. It was like, was that girl naked? I don't remember, but I said some funny shit to her. So she's doing that, and then we start talking. And at one point, I say to her, "A Cure song's playing," and I was like, "Wow, there's nothing more arousing than getting grinded on while listening to The Cure." And she goes, "What was that guy's name in The Cure?" And I was like, "Robert Smith." And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, how turned on are you that I know the lead singer of The Cure? Like, that's super impressive, right? So we start talking. She goes, you know, you're great. Like, you're like somebody I could, like, talk to. Like, I feel like if I just, like, saw you, like, on the street, like, we could be friends. And I was like, yeah, if you saw me and my wife together, I'd totally introduce her to you, and that would be great. And I'd be like, this is the stripper from my bachelor party. And she's like, I wouldn't say that I met you at the strip club. I'd say, like, I met you at the bank. And I go, yeah, that's perfect. I'd say to my wife, that's the girl that rubbed her nipple against my nose at the bank. But again, like, nothing.
Oh,
like,
they don't
she
break
won't
through. They don't break. That's the funniest part. You would think these women would start crying if you fucked with them. They literally have balls of steel like you've never
Yeah.
seen. They have done this with every douche in the world.
They've probably heard
Everything.
the worst shit that you could
And
say
that's the thing,
to
it's like,
a human being. in
and to be
general.
honest, the one great thing about the strip club, and I will say this, and for you, Jason, like, that nice guys at a strip club, like, all the strippers loved me because aside from me being an idiot and like cracking jokes, like there was nothing about me that was like trying to like put my hands places or trying to be an asshole. Like I was just being a genuine normal person. They were like, you are the nicest person at this rundown Las Vegas strip club ever.
Jason, every girl come with Jason. I can get you out of here.
No, and that's the thing. Like, help me.
I can get you out of here.
I refuse to ever go to Las Vegas with these two because I don't believe I would be able to actually go to settle down for the evening.
We settled down. Sean got pissed
For
that I
one
didn't
evening.
settle down, but he rallied at CES when I was trying to do some Nerdtastic, actually networking.
Yeah, at the strip club.
Sean, no. This is actually after an
There's
event.
no-
This didn't. We didn't hit the strip club that time. But Sean's like, Jack, it's time to go to bed. We need to get the fuck out of here. It's like 1 a.m. 1 a.m. turned into about 7 a.m. when we rolled in.
About 6 a.m. We haven't followed up any
Vegas,
of those
baby.
leads.
Dude was buying bottles of Dom. You don't walk away
Yeah.
from bottles of Dom.
Yeah.
You just don't.
Who was?
Sean.
Dude.
No, me and Sean, a guy from
was-
Curse Gaming, which is
Curse
a big
Gaming,
like
yes.
network gaming site.
So they're essentially game.
They're like a machinima.
They're like a machinima, but they're
Cursed.
RTS for like
But
World of Warcraft.
they're like
and-
machinima,
yeah.
but their building is built on top of an old Indian burial ground, so they're cursed.
So I read an article today that the cube, the Curiosity, the cube is still going.
Still going.
Yeah.
6 months.
Who is playing that thing? I played that for
Peter Molyneux.
approximately
What
30
is that?
seconds.
It's like this experiment that Peter Molyneux's new company, 22 Cans, started, and basically it was like this cube that had like, I don't even know how many layers of just like if you zoom in, you can see cubes, and if you tap them, they disappear. But like
More cubes show up.
there's like billions and billions of cubes.
You just sculpt.
You tap.
No,
You
you
tap-
get rid of them.
You get rid of them,
Tap,
and then
tap,
as
you
you
want to get to
release,
the center.
yeah. So the whole idea is to reveal the center, but there's so many cubes and so many layers, and you can't tap on the next layer until the first layer's complete. And it's not just you; you're playing with everybody else in the world. So it's like some central server that's keeping track of this. And the whole idea is to find out how many people are going to play and how long it goes.
So it's just an experiment more than
Just an
But
anything.
he
experiment.
said that in the middle is the most amazing secret you've ever wanted
All right,
to
Willy
know.
Wonka.
Yeah.
Whatever
And
you
apparently,
say.
it's going to coincide with the Xbox 3 or Xbox Next Generation event.
So they think
the
the timing will work out. Just
out.
come on.
And so all
They have a
along,
bunch of
that's what he was
Korean
doing?
kids
I don't know.
fucking tapping all day long, dude, to make sure they hit their number.
Well, they control it from the server, so
They're just knocking walls off when you're
yeah,
not
they're
looking.
like, oh, nobody's playing this game right now. Chink, chink, chink.
I was about to say, I'm like, that sounds like the boringest fucking game I've ever heard of.
It's
in my
not. It's
life.
not really a game. It's like a experiment.
Oh
Yeah,
shit!
yeah.
I just thought about this. Actually, reminded me of the thing that Josh posted about the IBM is
Oh, yeah.
creating the smallest motion capture film has created the smallest motion capture film of all time. It's actually really interesting.
It looks like a bunch of BBs.
It's
It's,
super cool.
it's interesting, but it's just, I was watching, I'm like, man, these are fucking nerds with nothing else to do on their.
But like the
there's
size
no
of
Oh
the
my God.
scale
There's no
the
practical
that they have
application.
moved
but there
this
is.
atom.
Is there?
There is.
The size. I mean, they're moving these atoms, and it's just like the scale of the atom. You know, it's magnified to these
100 million times.
which basically
10
means that, you
million?
know, do you watch it to where
yeah.
if there would be an orange, it would be the size of Earth.
Sure.
Like that's how they've and just then to have being moved.
Wait, what? I don't think you made the entire connection. You said an orange would be the size of Earth.
If you
Like
magnified
if you
the
magnify,
Yes.
it.
If you
Yes,
No,
the
no, no.
magnification
It
of
said
what we're seeing the atom.
If the atom was the size of an orange, the orange,
Would be
and
the
a real orange would be the size of the
Earth.
Earth. That's like how. That's the size that
Scale,
they're
yeah,
working.
no,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry. Just,
I
go ahead.
got him.
I don't want to talk anymore. No, it's just amazing. It's fascinating how they've moved these atoms in a way to create
Tell me
these
the
shapes.
practical
And they make a full-
application.
Okay, so the
because
practical,
that's what I didn't
The
get.
practical application is they're trying to determine what magnetic properties, like what type of magnetic properties interact with atoms at the atomic level. And in doing that, they can figure out a new way of storing data at the atomic level instead of at this macro level that we're doing at it now. So what did you say? You said a current silicon chip for memory is something like 100 million atoms, right? We may be able to store a bit in the same way with 12 atoms. And if you can do that on that scale, you could store all of the information that's ever been generated in humanity on like the size of a pin,
penny
an
or something.
iPod or something. Yeah. So you could scale down data significantly. And I will go one further to say if you can manipulate atoms at that scale, if you actually have a computer that can do it faster, you could potentially create matter from atoms. And that is replicator
Now you're
technology.
selling,
buddy.
now you're selling me. Now I'm into this Kickstarter.
So wait, are you talking?
What do I get?
3D printer? He fucking gave me- That's exactly where I was going with that.
It's pretty close.
It's 3D printers.
But it's pretty exciting for technology that's not going anywhere yet.
Yeah.
What do you call an alligator wearing a vest?
All right, everybody, that was Nerdtastic in 3D.
Not investigator.
Nerdtastic, Nerdtastic, Nerdtastic in